Well, there was not much to our first game, so let's look for a second one. I will include a link in the description to Chess for Post Beginners, a complete opening repertoire, if you would also like to win games in 9 moves, since apparently that's how that is going to go. But let's go with 5+5 again. And I did want to mention as well that the openings in the course are definitely not my main openings, so I'm curious if we will get cases where I do not particularly remember what I'm supposed to play, and we'll have to manage what do we do when we don't remember our repertoire perfectly. But we have another mid-rated player, and I remember the Sicilian. Our key move is bishop to b5, and then d6. I think we said we castle and then we play c3, d4. It's possible that's supposed to go in the opposite direction, but I believe we should always be castling first. Bishop d7, yep. So that tells us we are not going to want to take the knight on c6 because they can recapture with the bishop. If they play a6, that then means we come back probably through a4 and to c2, and then this one, we were talking about the differences between rook e1 and queen e2. I think that we said queen e2, I think that was a specialty for when black plays bishop to d7 maybe, and otherwise it was rook e1. Again, I might have that backwards, but we will double check our rules afterwards. So just protecting the e4 pawn, of course, and then we expect to play d4 next, e5. Not an expected move, but I don't think that's going to stop us, because we got a bunch of things on that square anyways. Whenever they play a knight takes, we can throw in bishop takes d7, check, and they're not close to castling, so I think we are going to blow this open. And yes, another thing that I did not get a chance to mention in the first video is please let me know what you think of the videos, whether that's the chess, if you think the commentary is useful, and also just the video quality, if you think that we've got a decent thing going, or if there are suggestions you have for how I can make it better. Always listening for that. So bishop e7, I was looking at bishop takes c6, they take, we can take a couple times on e5, but I think they end up taking on e4. And I'm not sure I'm super happy about that. So I think I might even leave it as is for a move. Or do we even take on e5 once, maybe? Yeah, I'm taking way too long for such an early move, obviously. So let's just develop a piece. This is definitely out of our theory. Again, we got in our d4 break. We sort of stopped there and said, okay, I think I must be doing well. But the details, well, now it's just a normal chess game. We have to figure out how we are supposed to play. It's a little hard to finish developing because, yeah, we're supporting the center, but it needs to stay that way. I wonder if it's worth playing d5. I don't love that. I'd like to do something with this rook. Well, like, overprotected is what I was getting at. But no, it's move 8 and I've taken almost 2 minutes, so we need to just play a move, I think. Try to keep it a little more open, since that is one of our big emphases in the course, is we don't want to play super closed, slow maneuvering positions. And then I just want to get my queen off the open file. e2, c2, probably not a huge difference. Maybe some vague tactic like a knight takes e4, but for now we're always taking on e7. Yeah, and then let's keep going with development. We're almost done with that. Probably rook a to d1 if we get a moment. If a6, our bishop goes back. Thinking maybe even to f1, just super out of the way. Maybe I should be playing a4 actually, just so that they can't go a6 and b5. I'm sure I will miss things as we go through games, especially as far as tactics. I'm going to be playing very much on general grounds, I think, because my attention isn't going to be perfect when I'm talking about the game as I play it. Even this one, just missing maybe knight g4 is kind of annoying, because I don't think I can hold on to that bishop. don't know, maybe I can argue that lets me use the d5 square if that knight is gone. Yeah, not a surprise that they do actually play that. I don't know if it's super worth playing h3 then. Start with just the rook, I think. And then I would definitely play rook takes, so we'll add that pre-move. And maybe if I can move the knight off of d2, then they'd have to take it because I threaten to retreat at me. Even then, it wouldn't be a great bishop. Okay. So they do have two bishops, but we can argue, yeah, this dark square bishop is not a great piece. So I'm wondering if I even just double right away. Definitely don't need the rook on e3. c4 is not a threat. And that does give me the chance. I mentioned the d5 square. If we get this knight to f1 and to e3, we've got a couple of squares that we can use with that. So some promise there. I don't think knight c4 really helps. Going into d6 doesn't do anything, so we'll try to go the other way. Should maybe be giving a little more respect to a6 though, because I don't really want to give them two bishops for two knights, but it might force it. This doesn't bother me, because now I think I will just play h3. And then I don't get any kind of pawn weakness. Open file could be a little strange, but nothing too severe. Actually, shoot, I did just notice another tactic though. Rook takes, if I play rook takes back, is there any? No, that's ridiculous. Sorry, we just take that. I was thinking about some weird pin and fork, but we can ignore that. Yeah, and this I was okay with. They briefly get the open file, which I probably counter if rook takes, queen takes, rook d8, then rook d3. Volume 1, positional play. Should be very familiar with the idea of putting rooks and queens on open files and fighting against our opponents. Okay, not super sure where the knight's going next. Our pawn covers a couple of squares for it, so I would think we may just double rooks, but we still have to be careful of this a6 and trapping our bishop. This might be a good time actually to throw in that a4, because a6, then we can play bishop c4 safely, and there is no b5 to keep chasing it. And then we can come back to the d file and this knight e3 and so on. Okay, that makes more sense. They're going towards f4. Could be worth playing g3 just to stop that. That comes, I think, from the Spanish, that kind of opening, which I don't have a lot of experience with. But yeah, I think we can get away with that. They don't have a light square bishop, so rooks and queen and everything. No threats with that. If they attack h3, I think we can just sit with king g2. Okay, and then probably rook d8. And we're going to have to win some slower endgame. I still like my position. I think my bishop is still a little bit better than theirs. I still mentioned that d5 square. Caught up completely on time, so that's good. Wasted way too much time at the start. Because yeah, once I play this g3, like, I'm not sure what either of their minor pieces is really supposed to do now. Whereas mine, as I've said, knight e3, bishop c4, both cut very nicely. b6, okay, they're not really sure what to do, so let's say knight first. I think knight d5 counts as a threat, because they have to move their queen, and then we take the bishop with check, which means their rook would be hanging on d8. So they do have to respond to that. Lots of ways they can do it, like just move one of those pieces somewhere. They can afford to take rooks, like it wouldn't be that big a deal, I think, to have my queen on the open file. At worst, they can play queen d8 after and challenge it, although maybe they're not super happy with their bishop in that case. But it would be, again, quite a long endgame for me to win. So I'm glad to see my time is a full minute up now. which means I should have better chances the longer this game goes on. Okay, queen takes. Yeah, if they play queen d8, I'm curious, what would I do with that? I kind of want to keep queens on, just because it should make winning a little easier. Like, there really wouldn't be much if I made that exchange. So I think I will sit with knight d5 for now. I'm not going to predict knight e7 as a horrible blunder, but it's not impossible. Knight takes f6 check, and then they lose their queen. Okay, knight f8, a little bit different. That can come up to e6, but again, it's not going that much further. Kind of want to play queen f3 and argue that at least I can mess up their pawns if they let me take on f6. Or I could just bring the king up a little further. We're not quite to the endgame standard with queens in a couple of pieces, but I don't feel like I'm in that much danger. I don't really want to play f4 yet either, because I'm sort of playing against a bad bishop. Obviously, chess is a ton of this balancing different factors. Yeah, and I should try to keep my time up. Shout out to John Bartholomew, using the clock as a weapon, which I'm about as good at as he is. Just to say, not great. Yeah, play one more quick move. No fork on f4. We'll be very careful about that. Actually, maybe I should... Yeah, now I should maybe take on f6, because then I get into d7 with my queen. Is that actually effective, though? I'm not sure. Because I do like this knight, but it's hard to play around. Is bishop c6 ridiculous? Try to play queen a6 instead? Maybe not. Just trying to make room for another piece to actually enter and start attacking stuff. That's another of our big endgame themes. And I thought if queen c8 attacking the bishop, maybe then I would take on f6. And I've been thinking that I'd be happy to play knight versus bishop. So do I think they would take on f6, or would they take my queen? Not sure. I think... Do I want to do that? I mean, if they take, then I get a pass pawn, but then it's opposite colored bishops, which could be tough. Okay, we'll try this. Don't love that I'm having trouble getting winning chances against a 1700. Okay, bishop is hanging. Yeah, I mentioned knight versus bishop, but maybe queen d7 actually is a good way to try to force that. They get a little spooked and trade queens with queen e7. They aren't attacking anything, so I think I'm safe with that. Because their knight's hanging, maybe queen c8 is some kind of threat. They can't play knight e6 because queen e8 is mate, so yeah, I'd figure probably queen e7. Okay. I don't think king and pawn is winning though, so like queen c8, they block trade everything. No, that shouldn't be winning. But I mentioned I like the bishop versus knight, or we would keep trying to slow play it. I kind of like queen f5. I don't know if I want to go into h7. It's a little bit double-edged. Not that my queen gets kind of stuck, I think, just to check and then it can come out. Partly I want to bait like a queen d6. Okay, they do stop it, but now, is this helpful? Not really. Just because they can't block anymore, but maybe queen d7. Can I win the a-pawn? Have we wiggled into something finally? Queen d6, like it doesn't even threaten anything on the file. I just can't take, so my bishop would be hanging. Okay, so I think I get to take a pawn. No discoveries or anything. Yeah, and then I can take on b6 as well. And it's starting to collapse. So then the a-pawn is already almost halfway there. I know I am low on time. As I had mentioned, I tend to get low on time. Normally I'm good at playing on increment, but again, commentating, we'll see. No, we're not giving takebacks. Sorry, pal. Try a different opponent. Okay, and then I think we can still take the pawn. I know there is a temporary pin, but nothing that should bother me. So I can play a5, protect the queen, and then move the bishop, I think is simplest. Knight checks, don't do anything. So yeah, this, and then I think bishop d5. It's a really nice square, and now we can definitely try to trade off everything. Yeah, that's fine. Bishop d5, and if they take, then they will immediately have to give up their knight, because there's no extra guarding b7. They can't get to b8. So that's good enough to call it a good game, I think. Definitely won't be running out of time, not with 5-second increment. And we can start right away on a pass pawn. Bishop has to get out of the way at some point, so might as well attack f7. Push this as far as we can. And this is a very simple technical cleanup. Could push again, could just wait. What's the fastest way to win this? f4, hope they take it, and make a pass d-pawn. Perfect. So one more to fully attract the king, and then the second pawn is much too much for a king to handle. No worries about their own remaining pawns, which move super slow. And resigns. Alright, excellent. So let's come back to our analysis board. So I was thinking I would like to do this the classical way, where we go through it, come up with a couple takes first, and then we'll flip on the machine for some conclusions later on. But okay, as far as opening, yeah. d6, pretty sure we just castle first, and then play c3 and d4, but this e5, I'm going to have to come back to this and see if I said anything specifically about this, because it looks like we still have a lot of games here. So I probably commented on this before. But then yeah, bishop e7 is very unusual. We would have figured something with taking, I guess. I don't think this is very familiar, though. So we may not have talked about this exactly, just that we know we like to build up to this d4. And then yeah, I just spent a long time trying to figure out how exactly are we supposed to play this. So do I have any regrets about bishop g5? Not especially, but yeah, the point that I mentioned was if we, maybe let's say take this first. Actually, I'm not sure what the right move order is if we were going to take that, because they could play knight takes here. But theoretically, if we went with something like this, right, then sure, we grab a pawn for a moment, but this one is super loose. Whether they take it right away, or I think more likely you take queens, distract the rook, and then take back here with either piece. I really didn't see anything here that was good for white. I'm probably, we would say, behind in development at this point. So I'll have to check with computer what it thinks we're supposed to do in this phase. And then here I think I'm okay. Like this I don't mind positionally. This, I think I made a small error. Maybe I should have been a little more careful about what I'm actually supposed to do with this bishop, bringing it out to g5 early. Because yeah, I don't like that I allowed knight g4. But I also didn't love coming over to h4. I didn't think it would serve that much of a purpose here, and I mean it's sort of at risk of getting stuck there. But yeah, I'm sure there was something better than letting them take it, but at least, okay, we just get to improvise, switch to something other than bishops. Bishop g4. Yeah, and then the bit that I hallucinated with this knight b4 thing, I think it was never of importance, but okay, we got this trade back. Didn't mind trading pieces here, and yeah, here I think for sure white should be, I don't know about objectively better, but definitely have better winning chances Like if we just compare pieces again, like neither of blacks is doing anything. Both of whites, I think we'd say, are on pretty good posts. And then anytime we start getting low on time, yeah, we're not going to worry too much about quality at that point. But I think this was a little bit tricky with queen f5. Because if they don't respond to that, I mean, I'd be thinking maybe g6 is a better way, since they just moved their king to the center. So they might as well leave it there. But yeah, I didn't love either this, they have to block with the knight, and I think this is never winning. Like, we're just not fast enough because their king matches. And I doubt we can create that much with just the pawns. And then this one, sort of the same. Like, I thought I kind of liked bishop versus knight, but I really don't have targets, especially when everything except for f7 is already on dark squares. So I don't think there's a lot of promise with that. So again, keeping one more big piece to try to create something. And then yeah, this was helpful because they can't block on e8 anymore. They can't block on f8 because they would lose the knight. And then I don't think they can save a7 once we get to here. And then after that, I thought it was pretty clean. Protect the queen, so yeah, whenever they attack the bishop, we're in time to just move it, and then that just wins. And then we don't need to go much past that. So, okay, first thing I want to do then, let's open our repertoire without comments, just with moves for this. So we have an other again, and this time we add a Sicilian with knight c6. So not a6, d6, castles. Okay, that tells us we are transposing right, of course, to align with d6. Bishop, and then knight c6. So yeah, castle first, we did that. I believe we got bishop d7, c3, knight f6, and rook to e1. Okay, does that transpose anywhere, or are we just saying this is sort of on par? I don't know if this would transpose. I mean, it's a super typical position, obviously. But yeah, most of our work would be with these a6 and b5s, where we've obviously made a very nice hole for the bishop on c2. And then, of course, something like this was a huge, huge part of the e4 deviations chapter. I don't think there's much else to say about that line then. Sorry, that's not the right one. We were in here. So yeah, we got to here exactly right here. And f6 or e1. Then e5, I don't know if we commented on this anywhere else. I know there was like one line we talked about e5, and it was nice to have the queen supporting d4 as opposed to playing some queen e2. So if you're curious, you can maybe go and find that in the course for yourselves. But I think we'll just say, yeah, like this is as far as we were supposed to get with the opening. So let's ask our friendly stockfish for some help then. So d4, yeah, they did not take, which of course was super unusual. But yeah, this we would have just assumed was a good position. Pawn on d6 is kind of weird, which should be doing well. Bishop e7, yeah. d5 being best. Doesn't really surprise me. That it's so far ahead is kind of surprising, but yeah, I didn't really know what I was supposed to do here, like I have said a couple times. Bishop g5 is at least okay. Yeah, nothing to be super critical of, although I don't like how we've diminished quite a bit. Queen e2 is that much better, hey? Well, a couple ticks better. Okay. We'll call this more or less stable. We do think, yeah, okay, bishop h4, a little bit better, so we're not quite so easily giving up the bishop for the knight. Worse even. Okay, that's really interesting. Rook e1, that's kind of interesting as well. Just come back to reconnect the rooks right away. Okay, so I wasn't totally crazy. Not knight to b4, but knight to d4 is playable. Because this bishop then, yeah, that makes more sense. See, there you go. My intuition was right. There was something here. I just had the wrong square. Because, yeah, if you play this, then I think we're just saying this rook is very silly. Knight takes, sort of one of those weird looking moves, but then they can just take that back, and it's just a trade of knights. Yeah, and then I guess trade of bishops as well. Okay, let's continue. Knight c4, I guess that's fair actually, because even then we can come back to e3 from c4. But I'm really surprised. Yeah, I mean, if it's reliant on this tactic, okay, I don't feel that bad. But I don't like that I let this be worse for white. I will say that is a lesson, though, is it's not like, you know, lower-rated players can't get decent positions against good players. It's just that they have a ton of trouble playing them from start to finish, actually finishing them off. But yeah, we are now very quickly much better. So actually, where exactly did that go so bad? No, see, I was right. There is knight b4. I just wasn't thinking about this bishop at the time. Okay, well, half marks for me then. But yeah, once they let me, I guess, coordinate a little bit better, then we start getting somewhere.